So we're experiencing increases in our water bills. I think there's another increase scheduled. But we do know, Senator, that we have some of the best water in the country. But these things cost money, and they're costing our citizens. Now, we do appreciate the Bill Assistance Program, Mr. Chow, that you put together for us, and seniors certainly do enjoy it. But we're also very happy, Senator, that the federal government, on behalf of you, will step in and make life a little bit easier for our citizens. My understanding is about 1 in 5 of the citizens of Baltimore will be able to qualify for this kind of assistance. So, having said that, I think we'll turn it over to Senator to share with us what S3564 will mean for the citizens of Baltimore and this nation.
Well, Mayor Pugh, first of all, thank you for your extraordinary leadership. You're right, you do have the best water. I don't have a little bit of it right now. We thank you for that. But I'll tell you, it's Halloween, and one of the scariest things we can think about is when we turn the tap on, we don't get safe drinking water. And that's what we're here about, to make sure that we do have the reliable, safe supply of drinking water at an affordable price for the people of our city, our state, and our nation. And I am proud of the history of Baltimore and its commitment today to the safe drinking water. Director Chow's done an incredible job. He showed me a couple of those projects, Madam Mayor.
Oh, yeah.
They're in the hundreds of millions of dollars, each one of those. Simple things like a pumping station, a couple $100 million. That's what it costs to modernize their system. Baltimore's always been in the forefront of its water infrastructure, but it costs a lot of money in order to be able to achieve that. And unfortunately, that's primarily coming today from the ratepayers. Yes, we have federal programs, but those federal programs haven't kept up with the needs that are out there. And we have a large unmet need in improving our water infrastructure. So the ratepayers are really stretched today. The numbers are pretty astronomical. Nationwide, we expect a 41% increase in water rates by 2020. 41% increase. 1 out of 3 Americans are going to be challenged with the affordability of their water. Now, we have a program in regards to the energy needs of our low-income people. It's called the LIHEAP program. It's a very important program. It kicks in the wintertime to make sure people can afford to heat their homes. It kicks in the height of the summer to make sure we have air conditioning available so people can stay healthy. We need to do the same type of federal commitment to make sure people can afford their water. It's becoming a greater problem. In Baltimore City, we believe that there's been about a 33% increase in the last 3 years. As the mayor pointed out, a little over 1 out of every 5 people in Baltimore under the poverty level would qualify for help if there was help available. And that's what this is about. We're talking about how can we deal with a dual problem. Dual problem is recognizing that you're in a cycle. If you want to improve your water system and you put it on the ratepayers, then the ratepayers are less likely to be able to afford it. So how can we break that cycle? And one of the things that we think can help is to have legislation, a federal partner, that will help lower income families deal with the cost of their water, therefore taking some of the pressure off of the rate system so that you can use it a little bit more freely in order to modernize the system, knowing there's protection for the lower income families. That's the concept behind S3564. Help is in the pipeline. I like that.
Right, I like that. Help is in the pipeline.
That's good.
Cheers.
S3564. It's a bipartisan bill. I sponsored it with Senator Roger Wicker, a Republican from the state of Mississippi. The two of us serve on the Environment and Public Works Committee together. That's the committee of jurisdiction in regards to water infrastructure. We are optimistic that there's going to be a water infrastructure bill in the next Congress. We did pass the Water Resources Development Act, a bipartisan act in this Congress. President Trump signed it last week. There is significant help to Baltimore, Maryland, and this country on helping to support water infrastructure, including removing lead from pipes, including dealing with the resiliency of pipes, efficiencies, things like that. we made that down payment. And I know that really you'll find ways in which to use those funds effectively here in Baltimore. I have no doubt about that. But what this bill does, Madam Mayor, it sets up 64 pilot programs around the country. Half in regards to drinking water, half in regards to how we treat wastewater. Both are important. How we deal with wastewater is critically important to our environment. We know that very well with the Chesapeake Bay here in our region. Of course, how we deal with dealing with safe drinking water is a matter that we should never take for granted. We really need to make sure that people can afford the water that they need for their life. It gives some flexibility to the utility companies. We let the utility companies leverage this. The concept is that we will put federal dollars up, but we want to leverage it. And the qualifications, quite frankly, is that you must have at least 20% of your population below the poverty level for the purposes of this program. Baltimore would qualify for that, but we do expect that the utility companies could supplement that, so to provide even greater help through the requirements for leveraging the federal participation. You must have a need for infrastructure modernization. As the mayor pointed out, Baltimore's under a consent order. They're clearly qualified. So Baltimore would qualify for one of these grants. What we're excited about is that there's a lot of discussion between Democrats and Republicans for a major infrastructure bill in the next Congress. Yes, there's a lot of conversation about the transportation infrastructure needs, which we desperately need in this country. Make no mistake about it. I can tell you as a person who lives in Baltimore and commutes to Washington, we need help in transportation infrastructure. But we also want to make sure that water is part of that debate. We have found creative ways to try to help. The WIFIA program, I was talking to the director about that, and Baltimore is going to qualify for a WIFIA funding, which is where we leverage some of the revenues that come in from water. The Water Act will expand the opportunities, but we need to look for creative ways to deal with these needs. Baltimore has these needs and would qualify for these grants. I particularly want to acknowledge many outside groups that are here. May Stevens, my staff person for this, right there in the corner, has been very successful, Madam Mayor, in recruiting a large number of groups throughout the country that are on board and ready to go to work, ready to make those calls. You can wait till after next Tuesday because people are predisposed to other issues. But after next Tuesday, let's get on, let's use our connections to tell people there's the bill out there, let's co-sponsor it, let's get some more signatures on it, let's make sure it is part of the equation on the next infrastructure bill that passes the United States Congress. I am very optimistic about it because the need is there. I'll just leave with this one story. Madam Mayor, I've been doing some ground politics during this time of year. A lot of neighborhoods in Baltimore, knocking on doors, doing things like that. And people are very proud of living in Baltimore. They know the challenges we have. And they recognize that this is a challenge that we need to deal with together. So this is an area where I really do believe we can help the people of Baltimore and this nation on the affordability of quality of life, including safe drinking water. That's where every household should have access to clean, affordable water. This bill will help us go a long way in reaching that goal. And with that, let me turn it over to Rudy Chow, the outstanding director of the Department of Public Works.
Yeah,
Joan Pratt, our outstanding controller.
Before she gets started, Mayor, I want to say thank you as well. And I also want to say again to Ben, we went up on the hill, we had conversations about water, our city's infrastructure needs, and I just want to say thank you so much for all of that.
And Baltimore has really been, we've been using the mayor as an example of what Baltimore has done. Baltimore is meeting the challenge, and it's extremely difficult. You got a great team here, and the controller's doing a great job. We need to reinforce what you're doing, and this legislation will help.
Thank you.
It is a privilege for me to be here today for the announcement of this legislation that will help our most vulnerable citizens. And I am confident that this pilot program proposed through this legislation will connect our citizens to the aid and support needed to combat increasing water rates. Affordable access to water is vital for the health as well as the infrastructure and replacement and maintenance. Programs that offer financial assistance are a lifeline to customers who face cut off and even possible loss of their homes. With the steadfast commitment of Senator Cardin, elected officials, and community leaders, we come together with a shared responsibility to better our community. In an effort to ensure a better future for all of us, this legislation is evidence that our ability to address the challenges that face us as a city, state, and nation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And now, I'll call on the infamous, Attorney General, head of our public affairs.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Senator. I'm extremely pleased and excited with this water affordability bill introduced by Senator. Now, making water affordable is not just a local issue, but a national issue. Like many other cities, Baltimore City has more than 20% of its population living at or below federal poverty level. Now, paying for household essentials is a daily struggle for many of these families. At the same time, the need to reinvest in our aging water infrastructure is greater than ever. The Baltimore system, on average, is approaching the century mark. Many other older cities across the country have similar challenges. Yet, we also have required to meet stricter environmental and public health mandates. Now, both of these are very expensive. For more than a decade, we have needed annual water rate increases, and the upward pressure continues in the near term. These increases hit our most vulnerable customers the hardest. Senator Cardin has been successful in generating bipartisan support for water infrastructure. He has helped with the state revolving loan funds, the new WIFIA loan, which we're very fortunate to get qualified for $200 million, and other funding mechanisms. Now, all of these, which we in Baltimore uses extensively to support our capital improvement program. However, our customer expects us to recognize their financial limits by offering meaningful assistance programs. While assisting with water bills does not solve the multitude of challenges that a low-income family face, our department has attempted to reach out to our customers with assistance program, including assistance program for the senior, for the low income, the hardship program, and of course payment plans for those who are needy. Now, these are meaningful assistance programs, but the need remains great. Senator Cardin's Low Income Water Customer Assistance Program Act of 2018 could not have come at a better time. It provides both large and small communities with a significant number of low-income households the opportunity to develop and offer a water assistance program tailored to their population's needs. And it is backed by a 5-year funding commitment from the federal government, so it will last forward. What a great way to support innovation and test a new generation of water bill assistance programs. This is why I strongly support this legislation, knowing that many water utilities across the country feel the same. I'm a board member of the National Association of Clean Water Agency and the Association of Metropolitan Water Agencies, as well as committee chair for the Water Environment Federation. As such, I'm happy to report that all of these national professional organizations, among many others, wholeheartedly support Senator Cardin's bill. We also have representatives here today from 2 of our local advocacy groups, the Pro Bono Resource Center of Maryland and the Maryland Volunteer Lawyer Services. These organizations do great work with our low-income communities. I respect their dedications and appreciate all the guidance that they have offered to me and my agency. Senator Cardin understands the financial and environmental burden that federal laws and programs can impose on large and small communities alike. Federal assistance as opposed to the water affordability. Federal assistance as proposed in the Water Affordability Act will send a message of hope to our customers, helping to stretch out their household budget. Now, we look forward to the successful passage of this bipartisan legislation. With that, I'm going to turn over to Nathan Ohle from the Executive Director of Rural Community Assistance Partnership.
Rural.
Good afternoon
inviting me to be part of today here in this great city. And Senator Cardin, thank you very much for your leadership on this great legislation. I'm Nathan Ohle. I'm the Executive Director of the Rural Community Assistance Partnership, a network of nonprofits that work across the country to help provide access to safe drinking water to rural communities across the country. This legislation, the Low Income Water Customer Service Assistance Program Act, will help ensure that every American has access to safe and affordable drinking water, no matter the size of their community. This legislation amends both the Safe Drinking Water Act and the Clean Water Act to establish a much-needed pilot program within the Environmental Protection Agency, which will help eligible low-income households in both urban and rural areas with water and wastewater bill repayment. Across the country, there are more than 30,000 public water systems that serve communities of all sizes. 83% of those systems serve communities of 3,300 or less, and 55% of those systems serve communities of 500 or less, which means that a majority of the systems throughout the country are going to be adversely affected by increasing water rates in the next 10 years. Food and Water Watch recently completed a study that estimated that 15 million Americans experienced a water shutoff for overdue bills in 2016. That means almost 1 in 20 households in every utility experienced water shutoff in that year. It's an issue that is not going away as we look at the outstanding debt obligations and outstanding infrastructure needs and improvements that need to be happening across the country. AWWA, the American Water Works Association, estimated that $1 trillion in infrastructure improvements just on the water side alone are going to need to happen over the next 20 years, which means that there's going to be an adverse impact on those customers that are going to have to pay the rates to sustain those infrastructure improvements. These issues hit distressed families the hardest. The lowest 20% of wage earners across the country are estimated to pay up to 1/5 of their monthly expenses on their water or wastewater bills. It's an incredible burden for communities and for individuals that are struggling to pay monthly rent, monthly utility bills. And so it's going to be really impactful to have a program like this that are going to assist those families specifically in ensuring that they can have access to safe and affordable drinking water. I want to take a quick moment to recognize Gene Holloway. Gene works here in Maryland as well as Delaware to serve rural communities across those states and ensuring that they get access to safe drinking water. So I want to thank Jean for everything she does on a daily basis and more than 200 RCAP members across the country that are doing that work. Finally, I would like to thank Senator Cardin for his tireless leadership, not only on water issues, but infrastructure issues across the spectrum. We are proud to stand with you and with a number of other organizations to support this legislation and other infrastructure legislation that you've been pushing for years in your tireless service. So thank you.
That, I think we're gonna have Ellen Bridle. You say that
Yeah,
correctly?
the Maryland Volunteer Lawyers Service.
Thank you.
Senator Cardin, Mayor Pugh, Director Chow, and Comptroller Pratt, thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of Maryland Volunteer Lawyers Service and all the clients that we serve. My name is Ellen Riedel, and I'm a staff attorney for the Housing and Consumer Project at Maryland Volunteer Lawyers Service, or MVLS. MVLS is the oldest and largest provider of pro bono civil legal services to low-income Marylanders all across the state. MVLS became involved with water affordability issues through our work in tax sale, beginning in 2013. In addition to the legal clinics we do, giving advice to homeowners in danger of tax sale, in partnership with the Pro Bono Resource Center, whom you'll hear from next. We also provide individual representation for tax sale and water bill issues. We recognize that local governments and water utilities need revenue and need more revenue to rebuild and maintain our water infrastructure. However, continuing rate increases are leaving behind residents who can't afford them. The patchwork of discounts that are already available are just inadequate to address the needs of many of the customers across this state. Some of our clients with limited income are forced to choose between essentials like food, medicine, and water. We need a better system to ensure those people don't fall through the cracks. People like our clients. And I just have a few client stories I'd like to share with you to illustrate the importance of this legislation. There's James, who is a veteran and came to MVLS because his water bill had gone from about $180 per quarter to over $500 a quarter. At times, his water bill reached $800. An MVLS volunteer attorney determined that late charges were added to the bill every time he paid late, which was often because his household household survived only on Social Security and small VA disability benefit each month. Our volunteer worked with DPW to remove some of the late charges and enroll him in the affordability discount programs that were available at the time. If not for these programs, he and his household might be without water or might have lost their home to tax sale. For some, water is still unaffordable even after receiving assistance. Betty, another of our clients, is 76 years old. She came to MVLS in 2017 with an almost $50,000 water bill because of a leak in her property. Once the leaks were repaired, our volunteer attorney worked with DPW to adjust her bill. After the final bill adjustment, she still owed $10,000. Her water bill today is still $9,037. She receives the senior water discount on her new monthly bills, but it is simply not enough to help her pay down the delinquent balance that remains. The only reason Betty is not currently in danger of losing her home due to tax sale is because of the moratoriums on water bill tax sales that Mayor Pugh and the Maryland General Assembly have put into place for this year and 2019. In addition to tax sales, some of our clients have faced water shutoffs in response to severely delinquent water bills. Some have simply learned to do without. For instance, one client has found that it was more affordable for him to join the YMCA to take showers and buy bottled drinking water than pay his water bill. Another client had to bring water jugs home to her sick and homebound father so that he could have fresh water after the home's water had been shut off for non-payment. Thankfully, these clients had volunteer attorneys that helped them resolve their water bill issues and get their water turned back on. Many others are not so lucky. Water is essential for life, and the consequences of unaffordable water can be disastrous for customers and water utilities alike. If water continues to be expensive, more customers will become delinquent, and water utilities will spend more on collections and shutoffs while recovering less from customers. We need a system that works for all of us. MVLS supports this legislation because it will help create a better system by ensuring that even the most vulnerable and low-income communities have access to affordable, safe, and clean water. Thank you again for the opportunity to share our stories. Thank you, Senator Cardin and Mayor Pugh, Director and Comptroller. And I think at this time, I'm going to call up Margaret Henn from the Pro Bono Resource Center.
Good afternoon. My name is Margaret Henn. I'm the Director of the Home Preservation Project at the Pro Bono Resource Center of Maryland. The Pro Bono Resource Center, first of all, would like to applaud Senator Cardin on the introduction of this legislation. We are very excited about what this may be able to do for the citizens of Baltimore. As the cost of water in this city has more than doubled in the past 8 years, water bills have simply become unaffordable for many of Baltimore's lowest income citizens. The Pro Bono Resource Center, along with other advocates, have been working with DPW for several years on a task force about the challenges faced by low-income water customers. One of the primary challenges that has come up again and again is the fact that DPW does need to comply with their federal consent mandate to upgrade the water system for the good of the system and the environment, but they're also committed to providing programs to low-income residents and providing basic necessity of safe, affordable drinking water to these residents. It is hard to balance these two things, and I think that this bill will make great strides towards doing that. At the Pro Bono Resource Center, we are the pro bono arm of the Maryland State Bar Association, and we work with volunteer attorneys in the Maryland legal services community to serve those in need. One of the ways that we do this is through engaging these attorneys to work with clients with delinquent water bills. In the past year, we worked with over 100 of these clients, and many of them were seniors and those on a fixed income. As their utility costs continue to rise each year, they have to pull money away from other parts of their budget, like medication and mortgage payments, in order to keep their water on. In Baltimore, the stakes are particularly high for these struggling seniors because an unpaid water bill can also lead to a person losing their home to tax sale foreclosure. As Ellen mentioned, one of the initiatives that we work on together is our tax sale prevention clinics, in which we've seen 450 clients over the past 4 years, and over 80% of these clients have attended these clinics due to unpaid water bills, and were in the tax sale process at risk of losing their homes. So we are extremely excited about the possibility of federal funding to support a program that is vital in making water bills more affordable for low-income residents and allowing the city to take the necessary steps to protect our water infrastructure and the environment. So thank you again for the introduction of this bill.
Well, first, again, let me thank all our participants. It's clear this is a national issue. We know that we have rural communities in Maryland that are challenged on the costs of their water bills. I've visited some of the very small communities that have had to use at times bottled water because they couldn't do modernize their infrastructure. We've had some real challenges, for example, in Smith Island, dealing with the water issues there for a small community. So this is a national issue. And I'm glad you told us about some of the real hardship stories. I hear about that frequently. People are deciding whether they can afford water today. That is unimaginable in the United States. Taking bottled water, filling up jars for water, you think you're in a third world nation. I mean, that should not be taking place here. So this is a common sense way to deal with affordability. And it is targeted to those who live below the poverty level, who are the really ones that are in desperate need. But there's flexibility in the program that we're suggesting where the provider, the water provider can leverage additional funds to provide broader relief. That's, I think, the real benefit of this program that allows the local agency to design the plan that's best for the community in which they're serving. And we know that Baltimore is one of those communities that had that ingenuity and has that way of doing things right and would clearly qualify for one of these grants. Thank you all very much. I'll be glad to answer any friendly questions at this Halloween.